Welcome to my journey with Paula G, where we juggle this journey called life while we're walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given us. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Those of you who have been tuning in from the beginning or have tuned in along the journey, thank you. Thank you for coming back and spending a little bit of time with us. If this is your very first time, we welcome you to the family. We welcome you to the journey. I always open every show with time is precious. It is the one thing that you cannot get back. So for you to think it not robbery to spend this time with us, we truly, truly appreciate it. And in this particular season, I myself am juggling this journey called life while walking in the gifts and talents, such as recording these shows. I'm currently coming to you remotely from South Carolina, and I want to thank Sergeant Major and Mrs. Harry Ferguson, no relation, for providing the opportunity for us to tape some of these shows remotely. And the reason that I'm here is I'm here to support one of our Positive Power family members who are currently on a bereavement journey. And we just ask that you lift them in prayer and all of those who have suffered loss in their families. I say to you all each week as well that life is precious. We can't get that back. So every day that we wake up, we have to use the gifts, use the talents that God has given us. At the service for this particular Positive Power family member, the mother had said that she was at peace. She was at peace because she felt that her son had left this earth as an empty vessel, using all of the gifts and the talents that God has given him. So I want to encourage you all each and every day that you wake up. Lord, what is it that I can do today? What is it that I can use that you have given me today to give you glory and to perhaps draw someone to you that doesn't know you? The gifts and talents that each and every one of us have been given. So I just want to share that with you today, and also want to thank our underwriters, because without our underwriters, my journey with Paula G would not be possible. So we thank them so much for all they do to support this particular show. And if you're interested in being an underwriter, or you are interested in being a guest, you have a question, comment, you can email me, paula@paulagvoice.com. Put my journey in the subject line and we'll be sure to get back with you. Well, all right. Speaking of journeys, I am so excited to have this lady with us today. She is from a small town in New Mexico City. She immigrated to the US to pursue her goals and seize her opportunities. She earned a bachelor's degree, y'all, a bachelor's degree in cinema, and she's also a contributing author, and she has a testimony and a journey. She is Luz Sanchez. We thank you so much I'm so excited to have you here to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Paula. And what a wonderful, beautiful welcome that you gave to our audience. This is such a wonderful space, and I'm just super grateful and blessed that you have me here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for joining us. I know what you have to share will truly, truly bless the audience. You know, we always talk about this journey through life and how we juggle this journey. I want you to share with the audience some of the obstacles that you have had to overcome on your journey. And I believe one of them, we were talking a little bit earlier, that you mentioned was family. So share a little bit with us.
Yes, like you said, I am from Mexico City. I immigrated here to the United States without knowing English. I learned English here. And before that, right, being from Mexico, I was born in a very poor family, very low income, and I had to overcome many obstacles. My father was an alcoholic and abusive to my mother, and growing up, I had to take care of my siblings. And being the oldest, I feel like the oldest person in Mexican culture usually leave all the responsibility to the oldest child, and I was the oldest child, so I had to take care of my siblings, and it was a big responsibility being so young, just having so many responsibilities on my shoulders. I felt that my childhood mostly was spent working hard, taking care of my siblings, and also kind of being the mom of my mom. But
Yes.
just kind of, just trying to give advice to my mom. And
Hmm.
for some reason, sometimes with the oldest, I have to wake up faster. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And that's, and that you raise a good point because as you said, sometimes the oldest has to grow up faster, the oldest has to wake up faster. And as you go through that journey through life, all of that manifests in one way or another. For some, it they develop leadership skills and independence and so forth. And for others, because of that journey, sometimes it may not necessarily develop into good skills or good habits and so forth. And you've shared a little bit as well about some inner demons that you've kind of had to struggle with. Can you share with us a little bit about that and how they've come about?
Yes, for sure. Well, first of all, right, when you are born in a family where they don't work on their mindset, they don't work on, there's so many areas that we have to work on spiritually, physically, mentally, relationships, financial, right? All these areas that we really have to develop as we grow, right? And when we find yourself in an environment where your parents have not developed that, then you have to find your own, but at the same time you are programmed, you're being trained, you're being programmed by them, by their behaviors, right? At the beginning, when you start growing, and I'm just looking back to my journey,
Yes.
the programming, right? That I grew up in a family where mostly the males were machistas, and they expected me as a woman to be only a servant, only to have children, only to be a housewife. But I did not want that for myself, and that made me very upset.
Mm-hmm.
So fighting that within myself and also fighting in the outside, because they put you obstacles for you not to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, for example, my father didn't want me to go to school. In the middle school, he wanted to just for me not to go to school anymore. He wanted me to work full time. And my mother wanted me to go to school. So there was such a huge conflict because of that. My uncles would tell my mom, why do you send her to school? She's going to get married and have children. But for some reason, God gave me this inner eye to see beyond that I wanted to be more. And every little clue that I found throughout my path, it was just a clue for me to follow that North Star, that I am more than what my family says of me, that I am more than what society may see through me, right? Sometimes they kind of send you the message that you are not going to amount to anything. But then you know this fire within yourself. You know that God has given you all these talents and all this vision, right? Because God gives us visions, and we have to just stick to the vision, focus. And even though a lot of different things come towards you, like a darts, right? That wanna just put you down, you gotta stick to yourself and believe, right, that God has given you more to work with.
Let me ask you, so you're in an environment where the culture is putting you in a box and telling you this is who you're supposed to be, this is where you're supposed to be, but there's something inside of you saying, that is not for me, that is not what I desire, that is not what I want. How were you able in an environment where you were not getting that support? How were you able to be consistent and persistent? Because I would imagine there were some consequences to you saying, I don't want to be in that box. So how were you able really to self-motivate? Because there weren't any outside there was no outside encouragement, was there?
No, there was no encouragement for me. The clues were, okay, first of all, right, the inner demons, right, like those voices that talk to you that you're not, that you're
Yes.
not who, that those voices, right, those are the inner demons. And second of all, that you have, for me, clues, like I said before, clues. I was not encouraged to read, but somehow I found this book. In this book, it was the Arabian Nights.
Yes.
This book as a young child, when I started reading, is very bloody and it's very,
Graphic.
it is very violent.
Yes.
But the message behind is this woman who overcomes through storytelling it to be alive. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
It's been a while, but yes.
Yes, that's one kind of like one of the books that I found, right? The other book, it was the scriptures. My grandmother, thankfully, when we go to her small town in Puebla, in Mexico, she would okay, so first of all, my grandmother, the mother of my father, was an indigenous woman. She did not know how to read and write. She was illiterate. And for me to see her write that she did not know how, just observing her obstacles, because she could not read, she could not, and I had to be also the direction for her when we would travel. I was the direction for my grandmother. So several times when I went to the church with my grandmother, she would put me in front of the podium for me to read the scriptures. Yes, and I saw just me seeing the face of my grandmother and the pride of me having me there. Just that woke up something inside of me. And also looking at the scriptures, right? Just even as a young child, you receive the messages of the Lord. You receive. Right, and the one that I really have stuck to me all my life is Matthew 7:7. Ask and you shall receive. And I was always so curious and always asking questions. And that's one of the scriptures that kind of like, it was kind of like a guide to me. That's one of them. So that's what I'm talking about, right? These little clues that you have. And even though your life can be horrible, but if you grab onto those little things that take you, right, it's just spiritual, it's in a spiritual way, take you higher to a higher level of consciousness, then I feel that you can overcome, you can become the light that, like my name says, right? The light for yourself. You are the light for yourself, and you light up your path.
Oh gosh, I a lot of times when I hear these testimonies with my guests in those younger years, when they were kind of placed in that box and they had all those negative voices around them, a lot of times they didn't make the right choices. And I asked them the question, if you could go back and talk to that little boy or talk to that little girl, now that you are in this season, what is it that you would say to them to encourage them? And I almost feel as though you were already talking to that little girl at that time. Does that make sense? Like, if I were to ask you that question, I would think your answer would be, I certainly can't speak for you, but it almost sounds like I was already talking to her. I was already talking to myself and encouraging myself. And it was that inner, even though, something that you speak to, I think is so profound that people need to understand. Yes, even though you had those inner demons, you still had that voice inside from somewhere saying, you're not going to fit into this box. So it was like that battle, I guess, of that good on one shoulder and the evil on the other, having that conversation in between your ears, but the good prevailed. The good prevailed, because look at where you are now and look at where you are today. What a blessing.
Yes, and to respond to your questions, right? What would I tell to that little girl?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, when we are born in a dysfunctional family, all
Yeah.
we know is unhealthy relationships. And looking back to my life, that's what has been the most damaging to me, because I always wanted to see the good on people.
Yeah.
That I don't know how to, I didn't know. Now I know. Now I know how to recognize healthy from unhealthy. Because we didn't have boundaries, then it's very hard to put boundaries later on in your life.
Right.
But just to learn to recognize healthy relationships, because just like the fruit, when you put a healthy fruit with a fruit that is rotten, right?
Yeah.
That the other fruit starts rotten. Yeah, it starts getting rotten. So just like the fruit, it's so important that we pay attention our associations, and that we are more present with ourselves, and also be with healthy people, have healthy relationships, because one unhealthy relationship can be very damaging, can destroy you.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, you have certainly and continue to be a wonderful example of the theme of this show, of juggling this journey called life. And you recently were a finalist in the Miss Elite Mexico America 2020 pageant. How have you navigated that, this medium? You're in the industry. How do you navigate it all?
Well, I would say there was kind of serendipity. I guess it's a long story. It's a long story, because when I was in Mexico, when I was 15 years old, I wanted to, there's the pageants in Mexico are in all towns, little towns and big towns, right? And I look at those beautiful girls, but so one person told me that I could not do that. I just forget about it. I just forgot totally about it. And then I guess right later in life, somehow you manifest something that you have been longing for a long time, and I just bury it on my subconscious mind. I didn't think that I was going to do this. But 2 years ago, I was invited to a pageant. I met the director of this pageant, Woman of Achievement. And from that, the director talked to me, right? I had an interview, and I just went to support a friend. But then I was invited to be part of the pageant. Yes. And I really had to think about it, because right now I am more concentrating on advancing in my career as a filmmaker. I feel like I'm a storyteller, and I have a lot of stories to tell. And being a Hispanic woman, a Latino woman, I feel that our stories need to be told. So that's the reason. But I said, okay, yes, I do it. And I know we had to do a lot of work, but yeah, I still have a lot of work to do, definitely. But now with the title, I guess. Yes.
Right. But again, such an inspiration, because you came here to pursue your dreams and the goals to get out of that box, and to pursue your dreams and pursue your goals, earning a degree, working in the industry. What a wonderful example and an encouragement to other young girls who are growing up in the same situation, similar cultures, because there are other cultures as well that have some of those same boxes. Looking where you're going and what it is that you're doing now. You're also certified yoga.
Yes, I am. That's a philosophy that definitely has taught me a lot. And that's a philosophy that I practice. It's a practice.
It's a practice.
Right? Yeah, it is a practice.
Yeah, awesome. We have a couple of minutes left, and I just want you to kind of speak to the audience a little bit and just share some words of encouragement, maybe a lesson or two that you've learned throughout this journey. Unfortunately, we only have a couple of minutes, but if you could share.
Thank you so much. Well, what I would say is know thyself. When we know ourselves, obviously, we know other people and can do much more for ourselves. Be that domino, right? That is gonna it that is gonna fall down into the other dominoes, because you're gonna be the domino for your family, you're gonna be the domino for your future generations. And also being an immigrant, not because we are immigrants, right? In whatever boxes, right, people want to put us in, let's not stick to that. Let's stick to what God has said about us, that we are wonderfully made, that we are perfect, that we are enough, that we, right, through our faith and being a vessel, God can work through us so we can accomplish and help this humanity, help lift humanity to a higher level of consciousness and awareness.
Wonderful, wonderful. And share with the audience how they can stay connected.
Well, my Instagram is LU 3 C's in zebra ZZZ Sanchez. And I have a page at famous.
ZZZ Sanchez.
Yes. I know I had to put 3 C's because my Luz Sanchez was taken. So only one more C, like 3 C's. And 3 is a good number, right?
That it is. It really is. It really is. Thank you so much. What an inspiration. And we're looking forward to your continued journey and all of those things that God has placed in your path for you to do, and all those tools and gifts that He's given you, so that He can use you to speak to others, to minister, to encourage other young girls coming up as well, and young men who may have dreams. So thank you so much for joining us on this journey. And ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us as well. We thank our underwriters for supporting this journey. We thank Sergeant Major and Mrs. Harry Ferguson for providing the space for us to tape these shows remotely while we're here supporting our Positive Power family member. We thank you all so very much. And remember, the greatest conversation that you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What is it that you are speaking to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? And are you listening to His still small voice? Until next time, embrace the journey.